All right, well, we've got a list of questions. So the first one is, hey guys, this is Marcus. I run a commercial HVAC company serving restaurants and hotels in Phoenix.
We
We
have a
do
lot of
incredible work.
HVAC people. A lot of
You
people
know,
in the HVAC business seem to be have a lot of questions.
well, we do incredible work, 95% satisfaction scores, whatever that means. But when I ask for referrals, clients get awkward and change the subject. I've tried gift cards, formal programs, even hiring a part-time referral coordinator. In 18 months, two referrals. Meanwhile, my competitors are growing with through word of mouth, or so it seems. What am I doing wrong?
I don't know, but I suspect there's a couple things. One is you always want to ask for referral. It's a couple places we found that we get the greatest amount of referrals. One is that when we um, when we get signatures, when people are at the highest, imagine you're in Phoenix and it's 9,000 degrees and your AC goes out and you're sweating bullets and you think you may die, and suddenly here comes the Cape Crusader to fix your AC. You're excited and it's like, thank God I didn't die. You saved my life. Right then you go, hey, who else do you know that might want their life saved? But right there too, you can imagine they're going, I don't know who else might need their, who I don't have the foggiest who might
Mhm.
need you. And so I can imagine the customer being awkward, like, I don't know. Like if somebody asked me for like if I were in the HVAC business, I think at that point they'd go, hey, happy to save your life. And other people get into jams every once in a while too, don't they? And I'm hearing this for the first time myself, but I do something like this and I go, well, please feel free, share your little story, send it out to somebody, you
Mhm.
know, uh, uh, man, or post it on your social media, do something. I'd appreciate it, because they aren't going to give you referrals right there because it is awkward that it's timing. They don't know who else might need this, or who
Mhm.
has a good person, who has a bad person in their HVAC world, or that kind of thing. So they're not going to get something right then. But if they go, hey, you know what, I'd sure appreciate it if you just let anybody in the world know, and anybody in the general Phoenix metro area that I service, it'd be
Mhm.
great if you could just tell them, man, John over at John's HVAC, man, what a decent cat. If you ever need anything, I'd sure recommend him. If you send that to one person, man, I'd be overjoyed. Uh, you don't ask people for too much. They're not going to know anybody at the time. Ask them for one thing that they can do really quickly. The definitely one of the things I'd do for sure is somewhere you've got Google reviews, right, or
Mhm.
whatever kind of reviews. I drop my quick link. I go, hey, you know what? I sure appreciate if you just give us a quick, if you give me a quick review. I'd personally appreciate it. It helps me personally. So if you would, that'd be great. So, hey, please let anybody else in this area know that you had a good experience with me. If they need something in this world, here's my contact info.
Mhm.
And should anybody bring it up, I'd sure appreciate it if you'd recommend me. That would be great.
Mhm.
Uh, you have to be careful not to ask people for too much. So if I'm going to ask them for one thing, what's the one thing I want to ask? Do I want to say, hey, you know, if you would just recommend me, or let people know that you had a good experience today, and you'd recommend me.
Mhm.
Or do you want to go, hey, I sure would appreciate it. It benefits me personally. I'll just drop you a quick link. If you can just click and give me a couple of good stars, that would be
Mhm.
awesome. Um, and but mostly I'd go, hey, appreciate the opportunity here today. Mind if we keep in contact? Yeah, I'll send you pictures of crazy jobs I've been doing every once in a while, and you can share them with your friends. you
Mhm.
know, so I'd build my contact slash referral network that way. Most people, when they do work, they never do anything after that. They never keep in contact after, and so then when somebody needs uh, they're at a cocktail. The person who had their AC fixed, is at a cocktail party, a parent party,
Mhm.
out golfing, and somebody goes, "Man, yeah, I can't. Man, I got to get home. I don't know if the AC is working or not." You go, "What? You should call John over John's AC, man. He's good." And
Mhm.
so, but if you don't keep in contact with these people, they'll forget about you, out of sight, out of mind. And so shoot me an email every month
Mhm.
with some pictures of, oh my God, do you see the rat that got caught in, in this air conditioner? No wonder. Or, in the heating duct, there was a spider the size of a pumpkin, or something, some crazy, and people go, oh my God, and then they talk about it. Like, oh
Mhm.
gosh, I just got this email today. Women at a coffee get together. Oh my gosh, my AC guy, he sent me, oh my gosh, it was a spider the size of a pumpkin, and now all the world's talking about you. So
Mhm.
you have to build it like that. The other thing that I would definitely do, if you're going to have an assistant, whatever they called it, the assistant that what they call it, the
Like a
the
like a
the
referral
referral assistant, whoever
coordinator.
it is,
Yeah.
that referral assistant should be calling everybody who who maybe services who let's say people who handle a lot of vacation rentals, or anybody where uh it's not just a one person
Mhm.
connection. It's one, or a one client connection, where this person, let's say, manages a bunch of properties, and they've always got things going out, and they really always are in dire need of somebody who could come and help, because maybe the person that they're relying on is no longer reliable. Maybe they left the country. Maybe they retired. Maybe they're doing
Mhm.
anymore. Maybe they're, it happens all the time, all the time. Oh man, I've got a great guy, but oh, he's, you know, it happens all the time. And what
Mhm.
what happened today? Oh, our garage door. We have two garage doors, right? One of them last night,
Mhm.
I went out there and tried to open it. There's no power. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And so, okay, well, that's unexpected. And I've never had a garage door guy in that town before. I don't know, but
Mhm.
I got a hold of Gary, and Gary's had a million scenarios like this, because he fixes stuff all over town, and he's fixed stuff for us. And I got a hold of Gary, and I go, "Hey, it's John. Man, we've got this situation. Who do you know?" He goes, "Oh, call PJ." The guy's name is PJ. What? I think of pajamas. He's going to show up. That's their shtick, right? They show up wearing pajamas and have a toolkit. And how do you know it's PJ? Well, that's what they wear. So knock on the door. You know who it is, because you can see it's some dude wearing PJs. Oh, it's PJ. You know. Garage doors that way. So I'd get a hold of guys like Gary, who are connected to all kinds of people who need all kinds of help. He
Mhm.
he's doesn't only help us, but I see him drive up and down the street every once in a while. I know he's
Mhm.
at the corner. I see his car, or I see a truck, or whatever. I'd get a hold of a million Garys, not a
Mhm.
million, because then you'd have way too much business than you could ever handle. But I'd get a hold of enough Garys that would
Mhm.
send me all the business I need. And and by the way, when I this is two-way street kind of stuff. For example, when I asked Gary, he said, "Oh, right away, right away." Gary's reliable, so I know that. So people like me look to people like Gary, and Gary looks to people like PJ
Mhm.
and so so PJ got right back to me, and I got right back to Gary, saying PJ got right back to me. So Gary knows that the referral that he gave is being responsible. And
Mhm.
so I'll also let Gary know how well PJ did when the deal is done. And
Mhm.
I will, before PJ starts working, I'll go, "Man," or I've already told him, "I got your name from Gary."
Mhm.
And so he's like, "Okay, Gary's a good recommender. I get a lot of business from Gary. I better do John right."
Mhm.
So there's more than just getting a referral. It's also doing the right kind of work, so people do then continue to refer you or recommend you. And there's no money involved. I mean, I'm sure I'm going to have to pay PJ, but nobody else is getting paid. There's nothing else going on here
Mhm.
except a good guy recommending, hopefully, another good guy to a good
Mhm.
guy.
Right.
That makes sense. So
It
so
does, yeah.
yeah. A couple things. Be intentional with your ask up front. Ask them just to do one small thing, either recommend you or hey, I'm going to send you a link, man. If you could click on it, give me 5 good stars, or whatever you think I did today. It really
Hmm.
helps me out personally here at the company. That would be great.
Hmm.
Uh, so decide which one that is. Make sure you stay in contact with all these people. Send them a little fun little thing. Oh, the spider the size of the pumpkin is blocking the AC vent. Now everybody will be talking about it. Three is you want to call all the Garys that you need to. Tell them what you do. And then keep in contact with those guys too every month.
Hmm.
Send them the same little spider the size of a pumpkin in the ductwork story, so he
Hmm.
keeps you in mind, and
Hmm.
you'll get all the business you need, and that's how I bet it'll work.
Makes sense. All right, we've got another referral
No more
network
HVAC
one.
companies. No, that's fine. Yeah, just not back to back.
So this one is, hi guys, Sarah here. I run a
What's his
boutique
name?
executive search firm.
Ah,
Uh, average, not HVAC company. Average placement fee is 50K. A former client who's now a CEO offered to introduce me to his entire network of C-suite contacts, but he wants about $5,000 per introduction that converts. This feels a little murky and could undermine my
wants
referral
$5,000 a what?
uh, per introduction that he makes that converts.
Yeah, into a job. Yeah.
Yeah. This feels like it could undermine my referral culture, but he has access to exactly who I need. How do you handle referral relationships when money gets involved?
Well, money's involved. That's the, you know, uh, sometimes that's the difference between a recommender who's doing it out of the goodness of the heart because they go, man, you know what, you should really do, you should connect with this guy or this gal or
Uh-huh.
whatever, because man, the way I see it, you two are a perfect fit.
Uh-huh.
I don't want anything. Often, and so it's not a financial transaction. I'm just doing it to help out. A referrer, or an influencer in today's world too, they're in it for the money, and as long as you're doing the right thing, then it's fine. I think it's fantastic. Uh, I don't, there's no problem. Just it's you handle them the same way as everybody else. You keep in contact with them. Um, if somebody refers business to you and they've got money involved, they probably want to be. They probably it's a little bit different because the recommender is just going to hand it off to you and whatever comes of it comes of it. They aren't expecting any money, so they don't expect any tracking.
Uh-huh.
Now, if somebody's doing it for money, often they expect some tracking going on. So, hey, because now maybe they're an affiliate. And so,
Uh-huh.
hey, I sent this over. I want to see if they've clicked, in not necessarily in this situation because it's not a clickable sort of event kind of situation. Like an influencer, they're going to go, hey, I'm going to send you this link, and they're going to see clicks. They're going to see conversions. They're going to see all this whole funnel of stuff. This is a little bit different. Uh, they're going to, maybe there's a clickable event. Like, let's say if the guy said that the CEO is okay with introducing him to everybody in his network. Okay, well, how? You're going to get together for coffee, pizzas. You're going to send out an email. You're going to do a one on what? How does that work? And so,
Uh-huh.
based on how you're going to do that work, maybe there's tracking. Maybe there's systemized software tracking, and maybe it's just, hey, man, I got I reached out to, Guinevere, and I'll keep you posted to, see how that, just let you know that may be in the works.
Uh-huh.
It just depends what the situation is. Does that seem like it answers the question?
Yeah, it does. I think some of it is it seems like from this person's question that they've been dealing primarily with recommenders, and they're one of those
Yeah,
recommenders now wants to become a referrer, and
yeah, that
yeah,
happens.
yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen
Mhm.
sometimes. And you go, okay, well, and then do you have an agreement with them? Do you not have an agreement? I would just ideally in those scenarios, if a little informal agreement is all I need, like handshake. Depends how well you
Mhm.
know the person. It depends what
Yeah.
we have a lot of informal agreements with people. Once you
Mhm.
start typing it out and then it's formalized, sometimes then it drags out forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and And sometimes that you just feel like, well, that's the right thing. Yeah. Sometimes you really do need to do that.
Hmm.
If and it's good that you do, because if there's ever then a dispute, and you show up in front of Judge Judy, you go, here's the agreement, here's what we
Hmm.
did, and this is,
Yep.
and we have a um, dispute with a company that a company that we've signed an agreement with years ago, and like 14 years ago, been sending them money every month, every month, every month for clients that they've sent over here. And since we're in the we're in the passive income business, every month we get recurring money, and so we've been sending them money for forever. They got bought by another company. And that new company wanted to make sure that they had the new that we had their proper bank account. So all this money keeps going to them, and then they decided that they, know too way more than we do, and they want to get greedy. They wanted four times the money, and we're trying to figure out how to even do that.
Uh-huh.
And somebody else told them, "Wow, we can do that." So they started going, um, sending business to this other place. We don't have an exclusive, but we do have in the agreement says you can't interrupt what we're already doing with this client that you sent over, because we put a
Uh-huh.
lot of money into this. You call it non-interference. Well, they're violating non-interference like a downtown parking meter. So
Uh-huh.
so now, yeah, we have attorneys involved, and I don't like to do that. But when somebody when you get in deep and they start trying to screw you,
Hmm.
so there's depends on the situation. We've um, when I do things personally, more often than not. Well, it depends on the situation. Sometimes there's an agreement, sometimes not. Depends who it is. If it's
Hmm.
like this company, it's a bigger sort of company. If we have an agreement with a bank, for example, banks often want agreements so they can put it in their
Hmm.
file. So when they get audited, they go, well, what are you know? Do you even have an agreement with these people?
Hmm.
Here it is. Check the box. They don't know what the agreement says, but they check the box, and the regulators figure things
Yep.
are okay. So anyway, I know that's kind of getting so I understand when you go from it's always just a gentleman's agreement into
Hmm.
something that's now they want money, um or so you decide how formalized that you want
Hmm.
it to be. um but if you know the guy, I would say if you just know the guy and he goes, hey, I'll introduce him. You kick me some money.
Hmm.
Yep, not a problem. And even if you go, hey, you can write an agreement in a paragraph this size.
Hmm.
Hey, we agree. I'm going to send this over to you. Let's both sign it so we agree. I'm going to throw it in the file
Hmm.
so accounting knows what to do. I may be a one man show
Hmm.
and I am accounting, but you know, and just so too, because sometimes there are like those specific deals. Like if somebody's getting $50,000 and somebody's getting five of the 50. Well, what happens if the person quits, dies, whatever, within 2 weeks? Well, all that some of that recruiting money is not going to it's a chargeback. And so, hey, if
Hmm.
if they bail, we get our money back, unless they're on for 6 months or whatever the case is, or we only pay at 6 months, where we pay half up front. And
Right.
so there should be some understanding about that. You might want to just pencil that out in a short
Hmm.
agreement so everybody is on the same page. So when they refer a flaky friend, and the friend says yes, and then they get on your team, or whomever's team, um, and then they quit, uh, and everybody knows, nobody's surprised. Good
Hmm.
surprises are good. Money surprise, having to return money is a bad surprise. So get
Uh,
that squared away up front. Stuff like that.
and there's a Warren Buffett quote that was something like, "There's no such thing as a good surprise." You know.
Yeah. Well, Warren, I'm sure, has been surprised by a stock going up unexpectedly, and that was a good surprise. But you're right. Warren had something about, he's an advocate of having an agreement up front, get everything squared away
Uh-huh.
before you even start, and
Uh-huh.
so that's fine. So and that's a good advice too. If there's no money trading hands, then there's there's no surprises.
Hmm.
If there's money trading hands, probably good that you just have it penciled out just a little bit.
All right, next question here. Hey guys, Robert. This is Robert. I've been selling commercial insurance for 3 years. I built a book of about 180,000 in annual premiums. Growth is slow, and I'm wondering if I should pivot to a different industry with a faster growth potential. But I'd be starting over, losing all my relationships and momentum. Friends are saying stick with it. My spouse says make a change. I'm paralyzed by the decision. How do you know when to persist versus when to pivot?
Well, you can get it. Yeah, they call it paralysis by analysis, right? You get, and there's a couple things that happen there. The science there is interesting because people have a heck of a time trying to make a decision. You come to a crossroads you don't know, and so often you don't make a decision, and just time keeps dragging on. Like the old Johnny Cash song, Folsom Prison Blues. So time keeps dragging on. Anyway, and it does. And you go, well, it's too late now. I've only got 16 more years before I retire, and you may as well just keep on doing it. And then later but so you when you have choices, these choices, your brain locks into the stuff and they get bigger and bigger and they loom in front of you and you don't know. And you get tunnel vision. You get this tunnel vision. You can't see outside of this because these things are so up in your grill. And then you get this paralysis by analysis thing, and you're just a wreck. You can't decide. I don't know why I was there yet. And so, uh, but there's this retrospective vision is what scientists call it. So you just go past it, just leap over mentally, just for fun, and you can always come back to being all locked up. That's fine. You can always come back to being paralyzed. But just for fun, just for a moment, just go into the future. Imagine a cool future. Life is working out the way you want it to. And from that position, you look back at this choice and you go, well, which one got me here? Which one was the right choice? That's and you see it, like you're probably imagining something right now that you have a question with. And so if you look past it into a cool time, I'm enjoying life. It's how I want it to be, how I imagine it being, in a good sort of way. And you look back and, well, which was the right way?
Mhm.
You see it immediately. Your instinct knows exactly what the right choice is. And there you go. That's how I found to do it. Works really well. You just did it yourself. And
Mhm.
everybody watching can do it too. Uh, yeah, there you go. It reminds me of. It reminds it's like I wish they would teach this to kids in high school or anybody trying to make it this like career, like because they always ask, well, what do you want to be, Johnny, when you grow up? It's like, I don't know. Do you want to be a fireman? Do you want to be a football player? Yeah, no, you don't know. But I remember when I was a senior in high school, they took this inventory, and uh, and it was supposed to help determine what it is, what career you should follow. Like when you go to college, what are you going to do? And so I did this, and months later, it takes them months to do the analysis. I guess run it through the old computer system back when it took a long time. But anyway, so months later, I was meeting with the guidance counselor, and it was my turn to go, right? And so I go in there, and I'm excited to go because it's like, finally tell me who I am, who I'm supposed to be. And he sits down, he looks at me, he looks at the file, and goes, yep, I got the right guy. John, right? I mean, I went to lived in a small town in a small school. He knew I was. He was also the track coach, all these things. Uh, it's interesting. Uh, back then you could smoke in school, not students. They would smoke in the restrooms, but the teachers in the teachers' lounge, man, smoke would billow out of that thing. And also the guidance counselor had an ashtray in his desk. He was smoking. So and also across the hall was the nurse's office. And so I go in there and he's looking at me. There's smoke in the room, and I see him eyeing the nurse over there. I know he has no interest in me. He's got really more interest in making time with the nurse. But that's so anyway. So there's the setup. There's the environment I was in. And then he opens the file, and there's this pie chart, and it says career wheel. And so and a career is divided up into these like little pie slices, and I don't
Mhm.
remember what they are, but he goes, oh, we've got three good choices for you here, John, and based on all this detailed analysis and a deep dive into, looks like you'd be a great accountant. And I thought, never thought of that. And I go, oh, okay, well, something I never thought of. What's the other one? He said, well, it looks like you'd make a good mortician, an undertaker. And I went, okay, what's the third one? He goes, well, it looks like you'd make a good forest ranger. And I went, that's it. Forest ranger's the life for me. Where do I go? And so that's where I went to college, and I signed up for the pre-forestry program. And but it's like that's how people decide on careers. And then they spend however many, God only knows how many years in college, and then they get out and they're working in it. They're trying really hard to get a job being a forest ranger, and then you become a forest ranger and you go, for however long, and something nagging at you, right? Like, this doesn't really feel right for me. I mean, I
Mhm.
like the outdoors, but I have a tough time, tough time affording a Porsche. I can't have a home at the beach.
Mhm.
But so now what do I do? So what I wish they would do is add into these decisions that kids make, like, what's the lifestyle? And I know today everybody either wants to be a rapper, or whatever, whatever. I want to make $1 million. Okay, well, that's fine. Then fine, kind of. But let's be, what's the style of life that you really want to live? And then from that, and you go, okay, what, as I look back, what got me here? What kind of career would be, something that gets me the money, the time, the downtime to explore things that I love to do, and something that I'd find personally challenging in a good sort of way, and I'd want to spend my time doing. And it might be being an accountant, but now I know, okay, this version of an accountant means that I need to be able to afford a Porsche and a place at the beach. Okay, so at least I know when I get into accounting, I need to be on a path that gets me a certain place. Or if I'm going to be an undertaker, I better have people better be dying to see me, or or I got so excited there, the camera's shaking. Uh, or if I'm going to be a forest ranger, I go, okay, well, that's not the typical forestry angle. I better get into this, and in a certain niche sort of, you know, way that it funds the lifestyle I'm looking for.
Mhm.
Rather than just getting into these things as everybody does in the standard typical sort of way, and then realizing this isn't the life that I wanted to live, and then you know, have to chew a lot of gummies to put myself out of my misery. I mean, that's what people do, right? That's what they're doing right now, all over the
Yeah.
world right now. They're doing it. And now that that stuff is legal, it's like, I don't have to find the right career. I can just escape. I can just get a whole bag of gummies. Yeah, I can be a forest ranger, sit out in the woods, just under a big old pine tree, and just eat gummies by the handful. One way of doing it.
One way of doing it.
Yeah.
All right. Here's another one for us. This is Michelle. I'm a fractional CFO for startups, 20 years of financial experience, great results for clients. Um, I should be charging double based on market rates what I'm currently charging, but I feel a bit like a fraud asking for more. When I present higher prices, I panic and drop them before the prospect even objects. I know I'm undercharging, but I
God,
can't
that
quite seem
sounds
to
like
break.
a mess. Anyway, sorry. Poor
Yeah,
gal. It's
therapy is the
Michelle.
prescription.
Yeah.
But I can't
So,
seem to break through this mental block. How do you charge what you're worth without when you don't feel worthy?
well, there's two ways of going about this, I would say, and a lot of people want to make a lot of money, but they're not giving enough value. It's just if I'm selling something, I'm in my mind and in real life, I'm not just selling that thing. I'm 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 not selling that thing. That thing comes along with what I'm selling, but what I'm selling is I look at myself as more of a consultant instead of a salesman. A salesman's just trying to sell the stuff. So if you're just
Mhm.
selling what your accounting practice, and but if they're a startup, if you've got 20 years of really good experience, really helpful experience, that anybody startup, or let's say a younger fledgling sort of company could
Mhm.
really they could get further faster. Well, then I would say you go in and go, well, what are you trying to accomplish? How'd you get here what are you doing? Where do you want to go? And then be a valuable part of that team to help them
Mhm.
get where they want to go. Because really, accounting is a good part of that. It's not everything, but it's a good. You need good people in your team in that
Mhm.
area. If that's not what you are, like what I do, I don't. I know that money is important, and the way that money is uh, um, dealt with, and the rules that apply these today, or based on your transaction or what you're doing,
Mhm.
are a big deal to know. I don't want to know them because my job is to do this other stuff. So and to find somebody who understands what you're doing and can roll with it is in her position. I've never found one. So I'd find that valuable, and I'm not a fledgling company.
Mhm.
So um, so her hang up is that she doesn't feel like she's probably not doing this. She's probably selling what everybody else sells, and decides, oh, my niche is going to be startup companies. Of
Mhm.
course, you better be looking for a lot of new companies because most of those are going to fail. But but uh, uh, but fewer will fail, more will succeed. Probably with somebody like you on their team helping them out. So that's worth a lot.
Mhm.
And that's not. I wouldn't bill that as the typical accounting practice billing. I would. You're something different that doesn't exist anywhere else. You can charge a consultative rate, not
Mhm.
necessarily a CPA rate or whatever your
Mhm.
title is, like everybody else that's just filling out forms and typing in and doing it wrong and
Mhm.
doing it. I got a letter not long ago from uh, the Department of Revenue in Minnesota, because we have a business in Minnesota. And this is from 3 years ago, regarding 2 years, like 2 and 3 years ago. The forms weren't filled out right. I don't do this stuff. We have an accounting firm who's supposed to be doing the stuff right and didn't. I had to pay back. I had to pay the correct amount from years ago for 2 years, and the amount that we owed them. Well, there's penalties and interest on that. It's like, come on, man. And the time that took, you
Mhm.
know, and these people are supposed to be really good, solid, reputable. Da 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 da. Nah, they're not.
I'm
So
sure. I'm
I
sure you
would
didn't get a
pay. I would
refund on the fees either.
No. And of course I got a lot of apologies that, well, you're really going to look at this, and as soon as this is cleared up, we'll go look at some remuneration, which means refund,
Mhm.
you know? Yeah, one. So anyway, Michelle, there's a lot of value for a really good consultative. Like if you're going to be a fractional what they call it?
CFO,
Yeah.
financial officer. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a valuable piece of any real business's business.
Mhm.
So what's that worth? What's the experience I was just illustrating? And it's worth a lot to have that done right, so that the 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 creative part of this startup business can be creative and do all the things that it needs to do, and not get bogged down by having to know
Mhm.
this stuff. They can be creative and build business, knowing faster when they know that all this other stuff is taken care of
Mhm.
properly. You're worth way more than you think, and um, so provide that. And how does that make you feel when you know that you're providing that? Well,
Mhm.
okay, so now then bill accordingly. Bill at the top. you know I bill at the top, uh because I know that what I provide out there isn't available anywhere else. You
Mhm.
will not find the kinds of help that I'm going to give you that's going to get you where you want to go anywhere else. You're just not going to find it. It exists nowhere else. So I
Mhm.
don't have any qualms at all billing at the very top.
All right, we've got a question for somebody named Emily, who's building a sales team for her fitness equipment distribution company. Um, I've tried commission only. Uh, Nobody stays. Base plus commission, people get comfortable at the base, and tiered commission, too complicated and everybody gets confused. I know every structure has its pros and cons, but high performers want more commission, low performers need more base, and I'm constantly negotiating compensation instead of managing sales. What compensation structures have you seen that have worked, and how do you think about this?
Well, that's a really, there's forever you're monkeying with this stuff.
Mhm.
Here's out of and we've done all of the things that you just mentioned, Emily, all of those and then some. I mean, you really nailed them on the three. When low performers, so low performers always want more base, and high performers want more commission, and the problem is those two don't mix because you can't pay the high performers enough commission because part of the money that you could have paid them is going to these hangers on, that come in and they show up just not, they never quite hit their quota, but almost, and you go, man, and you try to work with them. You work with them, work with them, work with them. So you're overcompensating the losers and you're spending your time dealing with them. You should get rid of them as absolutely soon as possible. Uh, and that's what we've done is just get rid of everybody who's that. But also on the other side of that is that, and so before I get away from that, I'd say there's three things. One is one is get rid of the losers as absolutely as soon as possible. And because it'll save you time, it'll save you a tremendous amount of money. The people that are left, you'll be able to pay more. And I would rather pay a lot more to performers when they perform as opposed to anything else. So we need to figure out how to pay people accordingly when they perform. If they're not performing, I'd rather not pay them anything at all. So uh, the other thing is the thing there though is those people also can go someplace else to get overpaid, and even though they're a performer, and it's an interesting little deal to be patient with. They can go somewhere else and get overpaid and have to perform very little. So with you, if they're on higher commission and less base, well, they're going to have to. They're going to have to. They have a big opportunity, but they have a low guarantee. So I found that when you pay them a higher guarantee, their performance goes down. So, but like Emily said, if they're just on commission, then they're going to quit, and you have a lot of turnover, and that's kind of how sales is. So, so what we've done is all right. So if that's the market, so how do you get good people? And getting good people, you have to look different than everybody else does in a positive way that performers uh, will want to gravitate to. So we do things like this, what we're doing right now. And so when you look at us doing any sort of work with us, you see a lot. We have a platform. It's a platform that people can see. They can see we're very transparent. You can see how we think. You can see how we operate. I just was interviewing. I had 4 interviews. Today's a Monday. Friday, I had 4 interviews, and and one of the people hadn't seen our platform, this Freedom Challenge platform, and this isn't even for a sales job. This is for a support role. But the 3 out of the 4 that saw this, they're like, "Man, what you're talking about is things I've always wondered about. How do I, and you provide that for free, and these people can use it on their own. Nobody else does stuff like that, and the people that want to come potentially join you, they already kind of know you before they ever come on board. And so in that interview process, I hear these things. I also, the one that has never seen this, are out because they should have seen this by now. If they really want to, if they're really interested, not just grabbing any old job, but really intentional about the work that they do, they're going to dig into the company that they're interviewing with. If they don't, I don't want to have anything to do with them. But those other three, they were so appreciative. And it's like, oh man, when you're talking about this, that reminded me of, and we had all kinds of things to talk about. And they had all four of them, hands down, like score. I always ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you score the fit here? Every one of the four was a 9 or 10. And and I had different scores for them, based on the conversation. And the one that didn't know anything about us, they're out. So I've got to decide on three. So good people, really good people who love what you do, will work on this less guarantee because they already know you. They're already guaranteed that they're going to like working with you. And that's something that they probably haven't really had much of. And if they really want to be a performer and they see that you are minded that way and the things that you look at and how you look at it, they want to work with you. One, because nobody else does. Most people are going to give you the typical answer, the typical sales training, the same kind of opportunity you can get a million other places, or at least 10 other places. Here, they've never had the experience of having conversations like this with somebody who owns the company, and they feel like, man. So there's, like, one guy said, man, I'd love to, as we're working together, I'd love to pick your brain on other things. Like, well, I don't know about that, but you can, but if it's related to what we're trying to work on together, yes. But other things, maybe in passing, but I'm not your therapist, but 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 they go, man, I want to talk to you about more things. There's so many questions I have. How would you think about this stuff? And so building a platform, that the people that a lot of people can see, and some of those people are going to love what you do, and they're really high performers, and you're going to get along fabulously, and it's going to be really more likely to work than, um, then she was saying, oh, the people that are in a higher commission are come and go. Well, that's what they do in the normal world. What we're doing here, this platform, is an extremely unusual world that doesn't, nobody else does it that I've ever seen. And that other people have commented, the guy, and you just don't see this. And most people, people who own a company aren't willing to do this because they go, well, I'll just put an ad in. I'll just recruit. Well, okay, but you're going to get all this, the same crap, the same scenario that Emily just laid out. People can go elsewhere, get a higher base. Well, those people wouldn't want to do business. Well, they would, because they go, oh man, I just love that. Okay, well, but we're going to weed you out. Really, you're not going to make it, even into an interview process, because early on they're going to see that you're spirited this way. It's not your zeitgeist, right? It's the spirit of things. It's not going to match. And so I'm not even ever going to get an interview with you, because the two layers before me, you're not going to make it through that. But the other ones that are spirited, and man, and also they're going to go, oh, I love the episode on such and such. Oh, I ran into that. And so the people that, have the interviews before me, they're going to go, got it, okay, and they're going to ask more about that, and they're going to find more real life experience anyway. So it's, we got rid of most everybody, and though we've always operated this way internally, we've never shown our hand externally, and that's finding, and we're finding some really good people, great people, that we probably would have never found before. They would have looked at us and went, there are a million companies like that. Well, now there's only one company like we are. Does that help?
It does, yeah. I think that answers the question.
Yeah. Does that help, Emily?
Not Emily, but I think it does. All right. Next question is from Brian. He says, I sell enterprise software. Typical deal is 200K plus, with 6 to 9 months at least for sales cycle. I've read every book on quote unquote structured selling and built out this elaborate 12-step process with templates for everything. Problem is, I'm so worried about following the process perfectly that I end up sounding robotic on calls, and I think the prospect senses it. I've lost deals because I was too rigid to adapt when conversations went off script. How do you balance having a process with staying human and flexible?
Well, you have a human flexible process. There you go. And what that means is it's system is the solution, but you have to be human. It's like I think people forget in the world of a lot of electronic stuff and being able to hide behind, not being in person. And and I know because I've seen it. There's a lot of people who you just can't communicate effectively because they've never
Mhm,
had to. They've been texting and emailing their whole life. They don't even know how to talk to somebody very well.
mhm,
And it's like you see like in Japan how they have, oh, because I can't communicate, but I can pay to spend time with, it's almost like a prostitute, but all you do is hang out with them, and you can't really, you just, it's, they just, there's people, have become kind of uncomfortable, but you
mhm,
go, all right, let's just have a genuine conversation. So when I'm doing a training with somebody, I'll often go, well, and they go, well, in this process, for example, this guy was illustrating, is that I would go, was that how you talk to a friend?
mhm,
Yeah, would you talk to a friend that way? Well, no. Well, okay. Well, okay. And I know you aren't selling all to your friends. I get that. Well, this is business after all. Okay, but are you selling to a business? You're selling to a human who's making a decision and who operates as a human. These people are human. Have a conversation. One of the things that I've found is that in I've dealt with a lot of things, and I've sold a lot of stuff, and I've been in a lot of situations. The people at the very top of the heap are usually very human. You talk to a CEO, president, and they pretty much roll. They're real life people, and the people on the street level are real life people. It's everybody else in the middle who are robotic. It's like they have a different language, and well, does it fit into our systematic approach of the da 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 da? Like, what the hell does that even mean? Speak English, or speak human English. Is that how you talk to a friend at happy hour afterwards? No. So one of the things that we do, for example, our sales process is we call it about them. So it's really just finding out about them. And so we'll go, how'd you get into this business? Is one of the best question that we found to ever ask. And like sincerely, right? It's not like, well, let's see here. Let's see, where's my script here? How did you get into this business? It's not that, right? And they go, "Oh, I see." You know, it's not a script. It's an outline of how you might have a good conversation. How'd you get into this business? Oh, really? Now you're unlocking a lot of emotion. Oh man, and where do you want to go? What are you trying to achieve? Oh man, what I really want to do is, well, what does that look like? How come? What are you going to do? How does this part work? Oh man, oh boy, we stumbled over that a long time. Well, how'd you unlock that? How'd you figure that out? Oh man, it took us, now. And so so if you're going by the script, you're not listening to what you're just waiting for them to finish talking so you can say whatever the next line is. But if we're having a conversation and you go, all right, I know that I need to have this I need to understand these things so I can help them get what they want. Again, I'm being a consultant, but I'm doing it in a very human and interactive way. I'm asking questions. How'd this go? And then they talk. And when I figure I have enough, they've said enough, or I have the information I need to be able to pivot and go the other direction. Because you'll ask them a question and they'll go, you have to be really engaged in the conversation so then it's just don't go streaming off in a direction that's not getting us where we want to go. When you have enough information, or they switch off to a different topic, or they get diluted, you go, got it. So let me ask you, and then you bring them back to another question, and then you go, got it. So let me ask you, so if we could get something like this, that would address these things and help you out and get where you want to go, right? Yes. Okay. So, and then I like to give them an A/B. And you know what? We got a couple. Let me ask you, what would work better for you, this way or that way? And now they get to help make the choice. It's not like I'm trying to pigeonhole them into something I want. And they're humans are much. more satisfied and happy with the purchase if they have a say in it rather than being strong armed and their face smashed into the hood and they go out driving a car they didn't really want, you know. Uh, and they go, man, the guy listened to me. We had a good conversation. Now they're going to recommend you. They're going to bring this up later, in a purchase meeting or whatever it is. Oh man, the guy asked me all kinds of things I never even imagined. He and da 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 da. So that's it's a conversation. People that you're selling to are human, and it's a consultative approach, not a rigid funnelized sort of weirdo system that's you come across like one of those animatronic things at Disneyland from the 70s. Yeah. Anyway, there you go. Does that did that
It
answer what
does.
a
Yeah. Yeah. I think that addresses it. This one is from Anonymous. I run a B2B software implementation consultancy for mid-market companies.
what
I
does that
have great
mean, a mid-market company?
middle market.
Already.
I I take that to mean like more than a one-man operation and less than
So
or 100
everybody
employees
except
or something.
yeah.
Right.
Okay. Mid-market. All right.
Um,
Here's a good, if you want a good answer, you got to ask a good question, right?
mhm.
And so you want to be, you want to be as specific as possible. Generalities, right? I don't
Yeah.
know. Anyway, so they sell what? Yeah, got lost.
Software, some sort of B2B software implementation.
B2B saw okay, so basically, so what they're saying is I sell to businesses and they're
Yeah.
medium-sized businesses. See,
Yep.
English, common language, so that the guy trying to help you out understands what the hell you're talking about. Be clear. Be who knows what if do I understand what mid-market? You think I should because I'm in business, but that doesn't mean I know what mid-market is in your world. And anyway, just ask a simple question so people, because you see what just happened. I got hung up and trying to understand some of the first few words. You're still asking a question, and I was not hearing whatever else you said because I didn't understand the first part of it.
And that
Simple,
may tie into your answer here.
yeah.
Um,
And it may tie into why they have a question in the first place
yeah,
because,
yeah, I think
I'm
so. I
having
think it might.
trouble. Well, it's communication. It's like, dumb it down, man. I think we need to keep more in mind that, it's, you don't, you want to seek to understand first, right? And
Mhm,
you want to speak so people can understand you. If you speak in a way that they don't understand you, you're going to get it's going to be hard for you and you're not going to understand why.
mhm,
Every time today that you speak in a way that people don't understand, your tomorrow is going to be harder
mhm,
and you're never going to understand why. I once had long ago, a guy, Jim, when I first started selling merchant payment processing, the manager's name was Jim, and he taught you how to sell the stuff in the way that they sold the stuff, and and man, I was so sharp, I was so good. He goes, man, you're too sharp, you're too smooth. And he goes, you got to rough it up a little bit. You have to he goes, sometimes I've got to look up the words that you use, and he goes, look, that's not helping you not helping you. It's going to hurt you. It's going to cost you money. The
mhm,
smart man, the man that makes all the money, understands that they need to speak to whomever they speak, understand the words they need to choose for the recipient, not for you. It's not about you. It's about them.
mhm,
And so he goes, all right, so now do it again in a way that I understand what the hell you're talking about. Got it. And I became their top, well, I was the top one, two, or three in all of Southern California, which is a wicked, bloody market. It was tough, man. But part of it was because of that. It was because of that. And then, just having conversations with people evolved from it, getting away from this rigidness, and
mhm.
having a real human conversation and, and an interesting and fun conversation. And then I became number one, two, or three. Usually has
Mhm.
one or two, sometimes number three. It has a big competitive market, and it wasn't because I was technical or sounded smart. I sounded like I knew what I was talking about, but I asked a lot of really good questions in a way that they
Mhm.
understood and had good conversation in a way that they understood,
Mhm.
not the way that I thought it should go. Anyway, so what's the question? I saw B2B and mid market.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
B2B to
software something. Okay,
yes. I have great discovery calls, send detailed proposals. They say this looks perfect. We'll get back to you next week, and then silence. I follow up 3 to 4 times over the weeks, and nothing. This happens on 60% of my deals. What am
yeah.
I missing in my sales process?
Well, what I just talked about, but also, I would bet typically what this is a common scenario when you hey, I've got great rapport and relationship, or they think they do. I send
Mhm.
out a detailed proposal, and then I don't hear back from them, and so I chase. He didn't say that,
Mhm.
but now I'm chasing. So now I've got to. So I would say that there was a you didn't tie it down along the way. Tie downs are the part of selling that are really a big deal. And
Mhm.
so along the way, does that make sense? Is it red or blue that makes what? And also, what's your time frame? So up front, one of the things that nobody teaches when you're selling stuff is time frame. So one of
Mhm.
the questions I'll ask right away up front, maybe not like, "Hey, this is John. What's your time frame?" It's not like that. You've got to be a little more clever in finding out what the time frame is. So you go, "Oh, how'd you hear about us? Da da da. Oh, what are you doing? How'd you get into that business? Well, let me ask you, what's your time frame on this? Oh, okay. And so now if they go, well, we're probably 2 years out. I go, man, things change so much that let's have a little conversation. But it's better if we connect a little further down the line when you're more ready. And let's let me make sure that I can probably take care of everything that you want and more. So what are you looking? What are you trying to accomplish? What are you looking for?
Mhm.
I'm not gonna have a long conversation if the time frame's way out because I know the chances of them going out of business or getting hit by a train or something are high.
Mhm.
And I'm not gonna shoot all my bullets right now and then chase them for the next forever and lose out on 60% of all of them. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to. That's a waste of your time and theirs. And so so um, so I imagine they're not understanding time frame. They're not tying them down. Uh, if the proposal was so spot on and time frame was right on, then you'd have 75% of everybody saying yes. Is the
Mhm.
numbers I've because you're still even if you do all the things right, you're still gonna have 25% that you know I missed something or
Mhm.
something what they told me wasn't right,
Mhm.
or um, they weren't even the person in the process. Somebody else was asking, but the
Mhm.
person that was really making the decision was talking to somebody else. There's all kinds of things in there that that I want to know too. Like, in the process, are you the one that makes a choice? Are you the one that makes a
Mhm.
decision? Well, not really. Stan does. Well, what do you do there? Well, I've been sweeping up and he's busy, so he just asked me to give you a call. It's like, okay, well, you know what? Let's do this. Let's get Stan on the call. you know, so there's all kinds of things like that
Mhm.
you're not tying down. It's not what's happening is not what you think is happening. And so therefore you're missing. And so most of us tie downs and seeking clarification on key issues.
Mhm.
Time frame. Are you the one that makes a decision? Uh, let's talk through this and what are you looking for? How do you see it working? I want them to if they're the decision maker and if the time frame is makes sense for us to even have a conversation, uh, we're going to we're going to seek a lot of clarification
Mhm.
on this. Okay, so does that make okay? So would you want this or that? And then so um, and people talk a lot about urgency, right? Well, I got to create urgency. Well, you don't really have to if they're already urgent. If their already time frame is short, I like
Mhm.
them to have a shorter sort of time frame. Uh, uh, because the urgency is already there. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on somebody who's really far out. I'm going to do a little bit so I establish credibility and some intrigue and like, oh, this guy talked about some good stuff. Let's make sure that we keep him in the running when we get
Mhm.
down the road.
All right, next question here. It's from Kevin. He says, I sell commercial real estate, industrial warehouses to manufacturing companies. I'm dealing with buying committees of 5 to 7 people. I get one person excited, then they say I need to run this by the rest of the team, and then the deal sits in limbo for months. By the time they decide, market conditions have changed. How do you navigate committee-based sales without losing momentum?
Yeah. There again, time frame. When are you guys looking to have this going?
Mhm,
And if their time frame doesn't make sense in whatever it is I'm selling, I'm not going to have much of a conversation. So
mhm,
if so, and some people go, "Well, you're going to lose." Well, no, you're not going to lose clients. What I'm going to do is lose the pain and suffering of trying to chase these people down. Meanwhile, a million things out of my control have gone on. So what I want to do is I want to have enough business coming in where I can uh, really act on the people where the time frame is closer at hand.
mhm,
If it's a little medium distance away, I can play that accordingly. If it's far out, I can play that accordingly. So I want to have enough business coming in where a lot of people don't have enough business coming in, and they feel that they need to handle everybody the same, and they need to give it the full treatment and chase it down and all the stuff that doesn't work, and then they never understand why. So time frame is a big deal. And if there, I understand the situation where, well, this one guy's calling right now, and then there's a committee. Great, I understand. And you may, if this is your if this is really what you're doing for a living, and if you really want to be really good at it, then these things are important rather than going, well, that's not really how it works. Well, you need to make it work the way it you want it to work. How
mhm,
is it that you want it to work? Okay, well then reverse engineer it to the point where today we're having a conversation. Somebody goes, well, I'm the one person, but I'm part of a group. Okay, well then that's fine. Just understand where it is you want it to go, and okay, if that's where you want it to go, you need to understand how to play it today.
mhm,
So I have run into those things where, okay, here's somebody's just doing some exploratory stuff, and the board gets together once a quarter.
mhm,
Okay, so but I'll the mistake a lot of people make too is they'll have all the conversation with this one person, and then they'll try to go explain it to the board. And the board has a million other questions that this one guy can't answer. So you need to figure out how to get there, either virtually or in person to and so I'll even have that sort of conversation with the one person up front. I'll go, well, here's how it works. The best thing to do though, well, let me ask you. So imagine us talking about this. I mean, you probably have a full plate already. Yeah. So imagine now getting in front of your group and them barraging you with a bunch of questions you don't know the answer to. Uh, how can we make it easier on you for me to either be there in person or virtually so that you can be the guide in this, and they can all ask me the random questions that we neither one of us know they're going to ask, because you know how they are, and how they're
mhm,
going to come up with all kinds of crazy stuff that you never imagine and I didn't imagine. But something is important to them, or they had a fight with their wife and now they're angry, and they're asking questions, need to go, man, I would have never imagined the Jim must have had too much coffee today, or had a fight with Susie again. So I want to be the guy answering I want to be the conversation with the board. So I'm going to build that sort of rapport with the guy up front. It's like, oh, okay, this guy's not. So he's going to be thinking about me like it's not his first trip to the rodeo.
mhm,
He'd be good in front of this board too. That's really the objective of my conversation, is to give this guy confidence to get me in front of the board.
mhm.
Make sense?
That does. All right, this is from uh, Lisa. She says, I'm a sales rep at a cybersecurity company focusing on healthcare systems. I spend 30 to 45 minutes researching each prospect before calling, reviewing LinkedIn, news alerts, financial reports, org charts, etc. My manager loves my thoroughness, but I'm only making 15 to 20 calls a day when my quota is 50. The calls go great, but I'm not hitting numbers. How much research do you think is actually necessary before picking up the phone?
Well, I guess it depends what you're selling, but obviously you're spending too much time. I believe in a little bit of recon. I do. uh, I do, they say, all the smart people that sell stuff, they go, well, the 4 steps in selling are rapport and relationship, presentation, overcoming objections, and closing. I don't, I've found that that's, yeah, it's 4 steps if that's the way you want to do it, but it's not super effective. I believe a little bit
Uh-huh.
of recon, and then rapport and relationship is a whole different thing for me. Conversation and paperwork is how I do it. So yeah,
Mhm.
I believe in recon. It's important to know a little bit, but uh, instead of but so I know a little bit. I go, okay, I get the gist of it. I don't do it. I if I'm gonna have if I need to have 50 conversations today, I can't. How much time can I spend in recon? Isn't a tremendous amount, and sometimes in recon, it's just I'm going to spend more time if I'm actually have a real appointment with these people. Now
Uh-huh.
I'm going to do more recon. If I'm just calling the type, because she said I'm calling this type of business doing this one thing, right? So you
Uh-huh.
generally know what the concerns are. So if it's not your first trip to the rodeo, you generally know you've had a few conversations. So you have a library of information, and so then I would say then your sales, instead of doing a presentation and not finding anything out, it's a sales conversation to find out their specific situation. So what do you do? How'd you get into this business? Or what do I talked to a lot of some are this, some are that. How do you guys look at this kind of thing? How can I help? You're asking a lot of questions to uncover.
Uh-huh.
You're doing recon as you're like most places. I go, well, here's a presentation. Well, I'm finding out a lot of things in my conversation. It's not a presentation, it's a conversation. And I'm uncovering a lot when most people don't. And therefore at the end they get the dreaded I've got to think about it, because they never had conversation about stuff that they should have, that
Uh-huh.
people were wondering about. So this eliminates a lot of the recon. I understand. I've run across a lot of people who spend a lot of that much time, and it's unnecessary until you really get into it, and you're going to have a real down and dirty, like
Mhm.
a real meeting with them, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're making 50 calls a day, these are not real meetings. These are short. These
Uh-huh.
are If you're making 50 calls, this is a short sales cycle, or it's just an exploratory sort of thing. Uh, so um, so you're spending too much time in recon if you have to make 50 calls or have 50 conversations a day.
Mhm.
50 conversations a day is a lot.
Yeah.
And 50 calls isn't an overly high number. It's a good solid number. It's a good solid number. And having done 50 calls a day, this is not a real big sales call where you need to do a lot of recon. And if your sales process is right, yeah,
Uh-huh.
again, you find a lot of that as you're having a conversation, not just cruising through a script.
Right. Next question here is from Tyler. He says, I recently started a web development agency. He's offering free websites to local restaurants with an optional $99 a month maintenance cost associated with it. You'd think free would be an easy yes, but restaurants keep saying no. Too busy, have a nephew who does it, not interested. I'm confused how people are rejecting free. What am I missing about my positioning or approach?
Probably 2 things, 1 or 3. I'm missing a lot. One is that, restaurants are an interesting target for that off the bat. Uh, we f it's a couple things. Restaurants are, I'm not I don't like to target restaurants. uh, and I'm not in that business, but I don't like to target them because everybody in the world targets them for everything under the sun. They're an easy thing to see, spot, target, da 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 da. And also today's technology, like our business First Financial, even under credit card processing, we can supply a restaurant with an online menu where people can order, go online, order. It's like an instant website, and we can provide loads of stuff, and you don't have to. It is so easy to operate. You don't need this $99 whatever thing.
Mhm.
There's so many things that restaurants have available to them today, and also I think free. I don't know. You see like vans driving around. Oh, free consultation. You go, well, everybody does a free consultation. Everybody sells free, you know.
Mhm.
And I think also, um, it's sort of it's worn out. It's and if they go, hey, you know, it's free, and I go, ball. There's no, no, it's not gonna be free. There's something in here that's not going to be free. So, and a lot of people are jaded today. They're suspicious, right? Like they've
Mhm.
heard all this free stuff for so long. You know damn well it's not going to be free when it's all said and done. And 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 again, I think they don't understand the market. They're going to. I don't think it's a good approach. Um, you know, and also an established restaurant, they probably paid at least 300, maybe 600,000, $1.5 million to get into this restaurant. You know,
Mhm.
and so they do they give a rat's behind about some goofball coming in and going, hey, we gave you a free for only 90. They're going to go, you know what? No, they're probably not going to give you the time of day. I don't think it's a good approach.
Mhm.
I don't think it's a good business target with what you're selling. That's just me. But I've seen a lot of businesses and a lot of approaches, and I know what's available today. Uh, I think you'd be better off maybe going to a different sort of business
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
with that sort of offer. I just wouldn't go to restaurants. Everybody, it's just, and I don't mind crowded markets. Don't get me wrong there, but but I think there's got to be like I don't like free as an offer. I don't like free as an offer. Uh, because the people that are going to that go for cheap and free are typically people aren't going to be around tomorrow anyway. So your $99 that you're counting on, they're going to be gone. They're going to be out of business. You know, the people who've been around for a while are probably looking for a little different sort of thing. They're looking for a different sort of offer. There it's something else is going to pique their interest. And it's typically not free. And also, you know, people say, which I believe, sell by price, die by price. Well, you're selling on free. You know, you didn't race to the bottom. You just went right to the bottom. We're doing it for no money, and you know, it's I don't know, and I'm trying to think of something where you know I'm okay. I'm open to being wrong. You know, I
Mhm.
really am wrong, or you know, I something I don't see, and I just uh like, free would be I would find free interesting if, like, I have a piece of real estate where it has a septic system, and if a septic company would call me and go, "Hey, we'll give it a free, like, a check. We'll check your septic system for free and see if it needs pumping out, and if it does, you know, we'll pump it out, and then you'll pay us, but we'll look at it for free." I go, "Man, that's cool. Come on, come on over." It's something I don't understand, you know? Uh, and something like, I don't know how to even to track this down. Uh, so that would be cool. Right, it would save them calling me and offering to look at it for free would save me time and other things too, like other things that people aren't aware of. Like, hey, you know what? Coming in, I'm just grabbing at straws here, right? But let's say
Mhm.
I'm somebody that doesn't. Let's say I'm let's say I'm my wife and I don't
Mhm.
know a lot about cars and I'm, you know, and don't know if my tires are, you know, should be
Mhm.
changed or not. You know, hey, come on in. You know what, we'll tell you exactly the situation. If you want to do
Mhm.
something, that's up to you. Um, you know, we'll check your, you know, that kind of thing. But going to a restaurant with something where they're already aware of all the million choices that they have, and you come in with just another one, the water's really muddy, and you're coming
Mhm.
in with nothing different that's interesting in a way that they lean into. You know,
Mhm.
you're just coming in with the same old stuff they've probably heard 100 times before, and they go, "Yeah." They think, and maybe you do have something much better, but they think that because you sound like everybody else, that you like everybody else.
Mhm.
So that's you know, we look for like I would be asking, you know, how would I get recommended into places? And
Mhm.
then, you know, cuz you know, if you can figure out how to get it recommended, let's say you go to a restaurant um um what am I trying to say? A restaurant like a business organization, the restaurant, their members. And you
Mhm.
go, hey, and you know that what you have is really good and unique. And you go, hey, here's something that's good and unique. They just don't know it. They're busy, but they come to you because, uh, they say they even pay a membership, to this organization, which a lot of them do, pay fees to a business organization. Go, like, well, we'll do an analysis. We'll do it for free. If we could do something that's better for them than they have now, we'll set it up for free, $99 a month to maintain it, which is cheap because I could never figure it out. You know how they are.
Mhm.
And they go, "Oh, that sounds good. That would be a good thing to offer our people that they probably don't understand or aware of today." So
Mhm.
I would approach it more like that because it's you go into one restaurant at a time. That's and with something that they think they already understand, and maybe they do, maybe they don't. There's I think just different ways that if you really want to do that business, that you
Mhm.
could, and I don't know if I'd for $99, and by the way, for $99, they're gonna keep you hopping, I bet, or they're gonna cancel it because they go, "We don't ever change this." So,
Mhm.
of course, then that would mean their website goes down, and maybe they don't care because, they got something with us where, a free website comes with credit card processing, so some things just it's just and again, I don't mind a competitive industry. I don't mind it at all. In fact, I kind of find it a challenge. But when I get into it, then I go, okay, I've got to go about this a little bit differently. I need to unlock it in a way that gets me all the business I need. And and it's not gonna what they're offering is so standard and
Mhm.
it's so standard, so typical that everybody you say it to thinks that they already know what you're talking about and they'll rule you out, even if you do have something that's legitimately better. So you've got to come out with them with maybe even the same product, but said differently
Mhm.
in a way that they lean in.